We are about to see a hard landing coming for the US economy, and we're going to go through a couple of major key points that you need to know about today because major news networks now continue to spout the narrative that the economy is good. Of course, they're in the tank for Joe Biden, so they're going to say that, right? Whether they're sharing some harrowing statistics about inflation, credit card debt, layoffs, or immigration, they always seem to put a positive spin on otherwise bad news. Like, it's okay that things are 30% more for you to buy at the grocery store. That's okay. You're fine. You're happy. But all you have to do is look at the data. Things are not looking good for the U.S. economy. Even Morgan Stanley's chief U.S. economist, Ellen Zentner, told CNBC that due to several factors, a hard landing recession is likely in the months ahead.
I feel strongly there is nothing being debated on the Fed right now seriously as to whether the next move needs to be up. So I think we can set that concern aside, but it's still about how long do they hold. Now, something that Jamie said, I think rings true in that whatever kind of landing you might be thinking about, right? It's about timing. So we've had a soft landing call since March of 2022, and I rolled that forward into 2023. Guess what? I've rolled that forward into 2024. We will have a hard landing at some point. I guarantee you that. We're all wondering, when does that come? And I just don't see anything, and this is probably the same way the Fed sees it, in the current data, coincident data on the economy, or the forward-looking data that says we should be on recession watch right now. But the point that Diamond makes is that there are these cumulative impacts that build over time. And we are in the camp that we haven't yet seen all of the tightening impacts from monetary policy flow through. And so it should keep you nervous, right? Economists were supposed to worry about what evils lurk around the corner. And so I'm not on recession watch right now, but I do understand the tremendous unknowns that are building in terms of tighter lending conditions, past monetary policy tightening, quantitative tightening, geopolitical events. I mean, they're stacking here.
It's looking like the Fed won't be ratcheting down rates by a significant measure anytime soon. We may get one rate cut, and it might not come until December. So many Americans are holding on to hope for lower rates before they can do things like buying a home, investing, or upgrading their vehicle. Even the Wall Street Journal just out with a story this weekend talking about how Americans are getting so fed up with waiting for interest rates to come down. They're just, you know what? They're just putting their home up for sale because they cannot wait any longer. It's that bad. Even though recent reports have shown that inflation is beginning to cool a little bit, the prices of everything from housing and groceries is still through the roof. And that cooling actually may have been an aberration because now for 37 straight months, we've seen an uptick in inflationary pressure. In fact, the latest CPI numbers show that, yes, it's much hotter than expected. So the White House will try to spin these inflationary numbers and try to make them seem like they're cooler, but we know better, don't we? Americans' pockets are hurting right now, and things aren't looking up. As long as inflation runs higher than the Fed would like, those interest rates are staying put. They're not going anywhere. And even if we do see lower rates in the second half of 2024 by Christmas time, any potential decrease is unlikely to be significant. I mean, the days of interest rates below 5% are sadly gone. Here's another gut punch. Dozens of major companies across the United States are continuing their streak of layoffs in 2024. Just take a look at this list by Business Insider. The full list of major U.S. companies slashing staff this year. The list includes IBM, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Citi, eBay, BlackRock, and more. Nearly every industry needs to brace for impact because we're talking about a massive amount of layoffs coming. The outplacement firm Challenger Gray and Christmas reported a total of 84,000 planned cuts in February alone. The firm's labor and workplace experts said as we navigate the start of 2024 in this first and second quarter, we're witnessing a persistent wave of layoffs. And to make matters worse, Americans are drowning in credit card debt. Americans' total credit card debt reached an all-time high of $1 trillion. Sadly, many of people right now are caught in this vicious cycle, right? High interest rates are keeping them locked into a state of perpetual economic hardship. Some of these credit card rates, are over 23%. Imagine that. How are you ever going to claw your way out of it? Meanwhile, illegal immigrants are entering the country in droves. Now estimates over 10 million have entered the country illegally during Biden's tenure, and they're not doing anything to stop it, of course. If the current rate doesn't decrease, 2024 is looking to be the worst year ever for illegal immigration. Biden, on his first day as president of the United States, signed dozens of executive orders to undo the Trump era regulations that were blocking the border and empowered the Customs and Border Protection, and gave additional powers to ICE to go out and round up illegals and send them back to their home countries. So Biden undid all of that on day one. So many of these cities are struggling tremendously. They're being overburdened by this crisis. Look at Denver, Colorado, or Chicago, where they have to house illegal immigrants in small little tent cities, and they're taking from American services like the local healthcare infrastructure and city services to provide for illegal immigrants. So if you're believing this narrative by major news networks that Bidenomics is somehow working, then think again. Economic analyst and financial writer David Morgan is warning of a looming global depression. He said, we're entering into a global depression the likes of which the world has never seen. And I think a lot of it has to do with China. The world maybe doesn't want to admit, and the Biden administration doesn't want to admit, that China is actually really hurting. And the Chinese, who got dumped into this massive bubble for real estate, are pulling their money out of those investments, and they're putting it towards gold and silver investments in that country. The real estate bubble in China has burst, and they are facing massive headwinds. And how much of that will hit the United States? We're seeing persistent inflation across the United States, an affordable housing crisis, record rates of illegal immigration, massive job cuts that are coming, just to name a few. I mean, it is time to brace for a hard landing. This is not going to be soft. There's never been a worse time to be saddled with credit card debt, especially when these companies are charging outrageous interest rates. That's why I want you to check out this next video about the state of credit card debt in the United States. We'll link it right here for you to watch, and I will see you in that next video.